Hey there, everyone. I'm Marc Alcubé, the host of Expat Expert podcast. This video is extracted of a longer interview that I had with Abigail Paul, a stand-up comedian from the United States who moved to Germany more than 20 years ago, and her experience on how to do comedy in Europe.
That's different when they
And
really don't
because
understand.
the person next to them is laughing, they need to like social pressure of laughing also, and that fills the room. It's incredible. Like I was, okay, why is this working with this person who clearly is not understanding anything what I'm saying? But yeah, it's funny. Going to that, like you analyze, I suppose, like how the performance has gone in that sense. So you record yourself.
Oh yeah, always. I think it's foolhardy not to record yourself every single time. First of all, because I live in fear of saying the funniest thing I've ever said and not remembering it. My brain is, hitting the menopause mush moments. So I want to protect my jokes and thoughts. But secondly, because, and I don't usually watch it right away, although sometimes I'm excited to see how it went, but usually I wait a while after a performance and then I go back and try to more clinically study it and go like, okay, you thought that you were going to get a laugh here and you got a sticker if at that. So clearly you could work on that joke, make it stronger, put it somewhere else.
So at the end you mark your own script saying, okay, this part worked, this part not, or...
I mean, I can get that intense about it, but it's more like just really sitting there and watching it a few times and learning from it. And then usually, making a few quick adjustments.
Cool. Do you watch stand-up comedy also?
Yeah, I mean, I do, but I have to say the longer you do it, the harder it is to watch. So when I watch like Netflix specials of comedians I like, I mean, I don't know if I ever sat around and laughed out loud by myself, because I think that's what's special about being in a room is that the way we all egg each other on to laugh. So the laughter is louder and it's a real experience. When you're sitting at home at Netflix, even if it's your favorite comedian, it's very hard to be like, ha, 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 ha. I mean, it happens, but it's rare. So I can watch a really great special and I'm just studying it. I'm not like, I'm just quietly watching it and going like, oh, I see why that worked. That's a good idea. Stuff like that. So and then when you come to open mics and you've been to a lot of them, it can be harder. It can be harder to watch, a lot of open mics. So I would absolutely I saw Daniel Sloss last year. I mean, any professional comedian whom I like and respect, I would love to see them live. And I will watch them on Netflix, but I will not enjoy them as much.
Even live?
Live, yeah, absolutely. I think live is the whole thing, right? Because being in a room with people and their personality and them responding to you, it's what gives you that feeling. It's like, you love a band and then you go to their concert. I don't really listen to music, but I assume that's why people go to concerts. You know what I mean? Like for that experience to see your group is a completely different thing than listening to the radio or the album, which is still enjoyable.
But it's a different vibe.
It's a different vibe, yeah.
That's very interesting. Like, I think there is the analytical part, no? When you're dedicating yourself to that, at the end, when you're watching someone else doing exactly the same thing that you're doing,
true,
you tend to go to this kind of like more analytical of like, I can use that, I can do whatever. No, it's...
You're learning, you're studying.
It's a profession somehow, and it's the dedication of your life. So that's how it's transformed from being a hobby to a professional thing, probably.
It's also tough because I think you do compare yourself and that comparison is necessary, but I don't necessarily mean professionals. It's very easy to compare yourself to professionals and be like, I'm not as good at them. What can I learn? But when you compare yourself to people on kind of your level, it feels a bit mean, but you have to do it. You have to be like, what is this person doing better than me? What could I be doing better? You have to be constantly willing to take that feedback on board or you're not going to get better.
Yeah. What about improv?
What about it? I still love it.
Do you ever go to watch improv? Or?
I ever go watch improv? I found it harder. I was bad improv's really bad.
Yeah. Bad comedy, just bad open mics are really bad.
There's something still kind of exciting about watching.
Yeah, because you can get drunk, but besides that,
maybe you can drunk at improv. I don't know. There's something about like watching improv go down in flames that you're like, nah, you feel bad for people versus where stand-up, you're like, hey, you planned this. This was your whole thing. You thought this was going to be great. It's easier, I don't know, but like with improvisers, it's such a soft, gentle, sweet art form. I don't really enjoy it if it's not people who are pretty experienced or pretty good, or well-connected, because I think that's what makes improv exciting, is when you're watching a group of people who rehearse like crazy and they're like, locked in together and the magic comes from how did they know that was going to come next, but they've just been with each other for so long that
they're together for so long that they know what it will come next. They know how the other person thinks, they know the flaws and everything. It's magic when the group connects pretty well.
Yeah.
That's the whole key of improv.
I agree.
Now you were talking about like bad stand-up in the sense of like sometimes or bad improv happens. It happens, you
Sure.
fail, it's part of the process at the end.
Totally.
How do you handle failure in that sense?
As I said, I think you just see every time, improv that fails. So you asked me if I enjoy watching it. I think it's different because I've just seen a lot of it. If it's a group of people I care about, I almost enjoy it more if they fail. I don't know. Like, it's not a problem for me. I'm entertained. You can still sit in the room and be like, good job. You know what I mean? But what was the question?
How do you handle failure yourself?
How do I handle failure myself? Like a decade and a half worth of improv lessons are deep set in my mind that every time I fail at something, I've ticked closer to doing better the next time. So I don't like it. Like it's not fun for me if I go out and I try to do 10 minutes of stand-up and it didn't go well.
You don't block yourself in the sense of like, I'm not doing stand-up for the next month.
No, I think I'm also a tenacious person, which you have to be. I really don't like to give up, so I won't let it get me. You know what I mean? Like, you can't get me, I'll get you. So I have a pretty strong work ethic, and I just work harder, and then usually that is enough. Because people can't expect to not put in the work. You have to put in the work for great improv too. You have to put in the work. It's a different kind of work. You have to rely on other people to do the work, but you still have to do the work. And so I'm usually just like, well, I guess I need to do more work, But what are we here for? Like, on Earth, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, to get better at something, right? To care about something. So this is what I care about.
That's true. I found something that it's a little bit like recurrent, that it happened in open mics, and there's people that tries the same joke recurrently and get trapped in this kind of thing. Like, they internally think that this is a very, very good joke, and we see them failing recurrently with the same joke thousands of times because of the concept of like the audience is different, maybe this time enters.
Okay.
Have you had this situation ever, like
where I tried a joke that just didn't work?
You are convinced that this joke is good, but at the end it never feeds into it. What do you do with these jokes at the end, or these punchlines?
I mean, I think good jokes and bad jokes, again, I have a tendency to think in a piece. Sometimes there's a place where I'm expecting more laughter and I get more of a, And I don't always think that's bad, because as long as I'm making people think, it's okay. But when people are thinking, they can't be laughing, so you don't want to over be thinking. They've come to a comedy show. So if it's a moment of quietude for the sake of I've said something interesting and not really, really funny, I'm pretty comfortable with that. Okay. But in terms of seeing somebody just like, try with a joke and not really get it there, I tend to think that person's either, it's like an improv. You have to be listening to the audience, listening to yourself. If you're not trying to evaluate what you're doing up there afterwards, then it's probably not going to go great for you. Even if you have some good jokes, the whole experience isn't going to work unless you're really willing to be like, it is good, but I could make it better, right? Like, you just have to constantly, so if you have good jokes that are working, you got to keep making them better. You even got to cut those good jokes and make new good jokes. Like, it's just like a constant regrowth. And some people have resilience for that, and other people would like to get a little bit of attention. They've got some jokes that work. They're happy with that. They go out there, they tell those jokes, and that's it for them. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that either. It's not what I'm doing, hopefully. but I think everybody, as I said, creativity belongs to everybody. And whatever part of it you choose to get on board with, I'm fine with that. You know what I mean? I might not want to listen to that same 5 minutes of jokes over and over again, but God bless.
Yeah. Talking about God blessed, I was going to ask you, God bless America or God bless Europe in sense of comedians, because I think there is a very clear line of difference between stand-up on a way of doing it in America versus the European way of doing it.
Yeah, and even there, I mean, is there a European way? I mean, I would.
European way. It's not a European way because a British comedian doesn't do anything in the same way as a Spanish comedian.
Correct. But, yeah, I think, for example, there is a more distinct style in improv. So Europeans have long-form improv tends to be narrative, so a story. American improv tends to be a deconstruction, so premise-based jokey. And then, short form is kind of the same everywhere. With stand-up, I think that the art form feels like it kind of originated there a little bit in America. And the network is really strong for doing it.
If you liked this short video out of the full episode, you can find the link to it around here and in the description below. Of course, if you are also interested in checking out other episodes, please subscribe and like.